The topic of today is confidence as you return to the office. So, on last week's live, I shared 5 things that you can do to stand out and to be remembered for the right reasons as you return to the workplace. And I wanted to continue that theme today, so especially as I'm seeing, reading, and hearing that a lot more people are slowly returning to the office. So if you're watching right now and this is you, then pop a yes in the comments. Let me know how that is going for you and what your experience is. I'm just checking that this is streaming in the right place, and it is. So it might be if you're returning, you've not been to the office for maybe 18 months or more. You're feeling a little bit nervous, anxious, possibly even lacking confidence. What's changed? How's it going to be different? And it's obviously been quite some time for a lot of us where we've not been able to be in that environment with people. Everything's been remote, it's been online. So it's a big change for us again now, returning back to the office and that environment that you have been used to in the past. And yet, maybe if you are feeling nervous, anxious, or lacking a little bit of confidence, particularly, let's say, if you started a new role during lockdown and you've not actually gone in and met your colleagues yet, and this is the first time you're doing so, you might not want people to recognize overtly that this is how you're feeling. So what is it you can do? Well, today I just wanted to share some approaches with you that will instill within you that inner confidence. And that in turn will enable you to show up at the office as the best version of you. So let's begin. First of all, the first thing I would advocate you to do and to consider is becoming more self-aware. What do I mean by this? I mean, becoming more aware of your thoughts and your inner dialogue. So what is it that you are telling yourself? What is it that you are saying to yourself that might be creating that impact, that negative impact to your confidence, that might be creating those feelings of nervousness or anxiety? So start to check in and build that self-awareness for yourself of your inner thoughts, your inner dialogue. And I invite you to be kind. Be kind to yourself. There will be people who will be open to sharing and being vulnerable as to how they are feeling, and that's great. And yet you might work in an environment where it's not seen as the right thing to do. And yes, we're seeing a lot of change around that. However, the reality may not be the same where you're working. So it might be that you don't want to be too vulnerable about how you're actually feeling on that return to work. So what is it that you could do so that you can show up with that confidence and that certainty in yourself? And that begins with you, and it comes from within you. So number one is that self-awareness. Think about how you're talking to yourself. Think about what you're saying to yourself, and actually, how can you be kinder to yourself? What can you say to yourself that will make you feel more confident, more certain about yourself, and feel in a better place as you return to the office, rather than beating yourself up, which is what we all have a tendency to do. And the second thing is managing your state. And what I mean by that is, it's very easy for us, if when we don't have that level of self-awareness, to very quickly the anxiety, the nervousness, the lack of confidence, and so forth, can all impact our physiology in a way that we then start to feel completely out of control in a situation. So maybe consider a networking event. If network isn't something that you particularly enjoy or feel that you are good at, although there is no right or wrong to it, think about how your body reacts and how you tend to start to feel. So what can you do to manage your state? And the first thing I always invite people to consider is to breathe, something that we're all capable of. So how does that help, and how do you breathe differently to help you to feel more calm and grounded? And a great way to do that is to simply look to take 2 or 3 very long, deep breaths. So if you're someone who practices yoga or meditation or anything that requires that slow breathing, that's the kind of breathing. So breathing in for the count of 6 and holding for the count of 2, and then breathing out slowly for the count of 6. And if you do that 3 times, close your eyes and do that, you will immediately feel your body relaxing. It will feel calmer. You'll feel more grounded. some of that anxiety, that stress, whatever negative feelings you were experiencing will likely dissipate. So that's what you want to be doing. So think about the breathing, what you can do there to help you to feel calmer as you walk into the office, back into your workplace. And particularly if you are feeling that you're starting to get a little bit stressed about it, if it's a place that you've not been for some time, there might be new faces there, and you might have a new manager, you have new teammates, or it could be that you're the new person. So if you can do anything possible to get yourself into a good place, it will make a huge difference to your overall experience. And something that for me is very, very important to do that, and it works very effectively, is to simply take those long, deep breaths. So try that and see how you feel. And it also allows you, by doing that, by breathing slowly, taking those deep breaths, it relaxes your muscles. Your whole physiology will shift from the tense nervousness that you were previously experiencing to a calmer state. It'll also allow you to be more present, which means you'll be more present with the people around you, and they will get a better experience from that. They won't know what it is. They won't know that you've maybe stood outside the doors of the office and taken those deep breaths before you walked in. But your sense of calm, the energy that will exude from you, will be so much more inviting for people, rather than if you were to literally march into the office feeling really rushed and stressed and, oh my God, what's it going to be like? And that's a different energy altogether. And people may move away from that. So you want people to be coming towards you and wanting to talk to you and be around you. So think about the energy that you're showing up in. And a great way, I say, to manage that is through the breathing. And also help you to feel more grounded. And why is that important? Well, by feeling more grounded, you feel more centered, you feel more calm, you feel more in control and more confident. You'll have that certainty in you, that innate certainty. And this is what I mean about inner confidence. This isn't about just pretending or faking it till you make it. I'm not an advocate of that at all, but it's about what can you do within you that will have you show up in a better state, where you do feel that greater certainty, that more confidence, and the control around how you're carrying yourself and how you're behaving. So that's the second thing. The third thing is your presence. And now, it may be that you are lacking in confidence. It might not be. It's not always the case, of course. So what is it you want to be doing to have a greater impact when you return to the office? So how do you show up in the office, and what can you do even better? And a few things I'd like to share on this. So first of all, why is this important? It's important because a lot of people place an emphasis or focus on the verbal communication. So actually speaking what we say and how we say it. Whereas, in fact, people are forming impressions or judging based on your non-verbal communication, because they see or experience that before you've even uttered a word. So this is relevant whether they are colleagues that you've been working with for years or you're new to a company. It doesn't matter. The way that you show up will directly influence the way that people respond to you. So what is it that you can do to have the visibility that you want, to show up in a positive way that have people gravitating towards you, to notice you for the right reasons? And that is developing a strong presence. And 93% of our communication is non-verbal, and it directly influences how people respond to us. So some of the things you can do are, first of all, your posture. So think about your posture. How do you carry yourself at the moment? Are you someone who walks around maybe with your shoulders hunched a little bit, looking down at the floor, not really making eye contact, looking quite serious and not smiling at people? Check in with yourself on that, or ask somebody close to you who you can trust to give you an honest answer. And also stand in front of a mirror and look at the way that you would naturally stand, and then shift your posture if needed, so that you're standing tall, that your shoulders are back, your head is high, and put a smile on your face. And make eye contact with people. When you see people, you greet people, look at them in the eye and greet them warmly. It builds greater connection. And the second thing is your stance. So number one is your posture. The second thing is stance. So your stance is the way that you stand. Now, there's the posture, so it's the standing tall. There's also your stance, and this is important, particularly if you are presenting, if you're stood in a meeting, for example, and speaking. It's also relevant if you are just stood speaking to a colleague in the office. And what is important about this is, again, it gives you certainty, it gives you greater confidence in the way that you carry yourself. And most of us, particularly women, tend to stand with their weight on one foot. So think about it. Think about observing other people, but also think about what you tend to do. So do you tend to stand, do you tend to stand and have your weight on one leg? So you're kind of leaning slightly to one side. It's a comfortable, relaxed way to stand. But actually, if you want to have more certainty and confidence in yourself, if you want to feel more grounded and in control, what can you do? Actually, if you shift your weight slightly so that you've got equal weight on both feet, so you're now stood straight, you're stood tall with your feet hip width apart, it will have you feeling a lot more grounded in yourself, and therefore feeling more in control and having that confidence when you're talking to people. And it will also exude a different energy to people, that this person knows what they're about. They have that confidence. It gives you a little bit more authority, almost, just in the perceptions that people have. And they're often subconscious perceptions, but it's what we pick up subtly, subconsciously, energetically from other people, often without consciously thinking about it. So another way for you to feel in a better place, to feel more in control, but also giving a better impression out for those around you, start checking in with yourself and your stance, the way that you carry yourself. As I mentioned, you want to smile at people, you want to greet people when you walk into the office. And I was on a call the other day and we were having this conversation, and they were saying that, pre-COVID, there'd be times there were people who would walk into the office and they wouldn't greet anyone, they wouldn't say hello, they just go and they sit at their desk and just ignore people. You want to be standing out, you want people to know who you are, so just be polite, be respectful, greet people. If it's a Monday, ask how your weekend has been. All of those small things that make a huge difference, both for you and for the experience of the people around you. And remember, as I said earlier, personal branding, one of the big things when it comes to what that is, it is the feeling that you create for the people around you when they meet you, when they work with you, and when they hear your name mentioned. You want those feelings to be positive, so you want to create that for them. The other thing with presence is to breathe, and we've spoken about that just now. So think about your breathing. So for example, if you are in a meeting where you need to stand and present, or you're delivering a presentation to a customer, a client, a prospect, how can you ensure that you have greater presence? You want to be grounded, and to be grounded, a great way to start that process is to just stop and take 3 long deep breaths. So try that. And then finally, your speed. So oftentimes when we're nervous, or typically when we're nervous, or we're lacking confidence, or we don't have that certainty in ourselves, if we are required to speak, and it could be on a one-to-one basis with a colleague, it could be to a group, it could be in a meeting or presenting. So whatever the context is, slow it down. Slow it down more so if it is not one-to-one, because on a one-to-one basis, it's fine. People speak quickly and it's easier to have that engagement going. When you're speaking to a few people, you want to slow it down a little bit. You want to talk purposefully and in a way that people can process what you're talking about, particularly if it's new information, something new to them they may not be aware of or have heard before. Slowing down as you deliver your information, your content, whatever it might be, not only does it allow people to follow you, to stay with you and to process the information, but it also shows that you have that confidence and that certainty in what you are saying. So oftentimes, particularly in an environment where you are presenting or you're in a meeting and you're speaking, when you speak very quickly, if it's too quick and people can't keep up, they'll zone out, which you don't want, because you want them to hear what you have to say. But also it suggests that you're probably nervous. And again, it's about the impression people are forming of you. You don't want people to feel that about you. So by slowing it down, it shows that you've got that certainty in yourself about what you're talking about, that you know what you are saying is of value, and that you want people to hear it. So remember to slow it down. So just to recap there, when we talk about presence, is the things you want to consider is your posture, it's your stance, it's remembering to smile, remembering to slow down when you're speaking, and remembering to breathe. And then finally, if you're in that situation where, as I said, if you're new to a company and you joined during lockdown and you're now returning to the office and you're feeling a little bit out of sorts because it's very a different experience, right? If you started work and you've been online for a number of months and now you're going in to meet all your colleagues, your team, your boss, it can have a big impact on you, and you don't want that to impact the way that you come across to your colleagues and your peers. So some other things you can do as well is to almost reinstill that confidence of how good you are and what value you have to bring to your role, is to write things down. So if you haven't done this before, take some time, and this isn't about pulling out your CV and reading it. This is about writing a list of successes, of wins that you've had, accomplishments. So start with the last 12 months and think about that. Write those things down. And they don't all have to be work related. There could be things that you've done in your personal life that have been big wins for you, big successes, big accomplishments. And the purpose of doing this exercise is to reinforce and remind you of how good you really are, because we are the first people to criticize ourselves and to beat ourselves up. Lisa, hello there. How are you doing, my lovely? It's lovely to have you on our live today. Let me know if this resonates, if you have any questions about what I'm sharing. So yeah, the number one thing to help you to reinstill more confidence and you to feel certain about yourself is to write down, recognize, and almost reinstill those wins, those accomplishments. And then ask yourself, what are you most proud of? And I'd keep it at three things. So what are either just the one thing, or what are the top three things that you are most proud of? Again, it's just reminding yourself, because oftentimes we don't stop to think, we don't stop to look at this. And so just taking some time to really stop and ask ourselves these questions, it just reminds us of how good we really are and of the value that we do bring to the world. The third thing is to journal. So journaling as a daily habit doesn't have to be reams and reams of pages of information, of writing. It could just be some small wins, big wins, how your day was, how it felt, what went well, what you could do even better, what surprised you during the day. It's a bit of reflection. And again, because we tend to focus, we could have a day that went fantastically well, but that one thing that went wrong is the one thing that we take home with us and we focus on and we beat ourselves up. And that's not what you want to be doing. What you want to be doing is also focusing and remembering all the good things that happened that day. So it's not to say we ignore the thing that didn't go well, because with that we can ask ourselves, okay, well, what can I do better next time? What did I learn from that experience? But we want to also bring into our awareness, into our focus, the things that went really, really well as well. And with journaling, you want to remember to write. In other words, traditional pen and paper, not your phone, not typing away, not on your laptop or on an iPad. There is proof that by actually writing, the process of writing with a pen on paper, it kind of has a different impact on the brain. It kind of instills that information at a deeper level than if we're just typing away. So when it comes to journaling, I certainly invite you to get a notebook and a nice pen to take that time to journal. And a way to inspire you to do that is to go, there's so many journals out there now, but invest in a beautiful journal that makes you feel good, makes you feel special when you pick it up, when you look at it, and it's similar with a pen. So it's a nice experience to sit and write. So all of these things reinforce your wins, your successes, and how good you are. And whilst this might sound obvious, basic, let me ask you this: How often do you do that? How often do you actually take the time to do any of this, to remind yourself of how good you are? And the reason I say this is because what we naturally tend to do is to focus on what went wrong, on the negative things, on the things that we believe we're not good at. And oftentimes we are good at it. We just beat ourselves up and think that we're not. So all of these things are little habits that you can instill, you can practice, that will enable you to feel more grounded, which means you feel more in control. And as a result, you're more confident, you have greater certainty in yourself, and you come across so much better to the people around you in your workplace. And remember this, or let me ask you this, how often do you tend to gravitate towards people who exude the confidence? Because more than likely, we want to hear what they have to say. We want to observe, we want to learn from them. And you want to be that person. You want to be that person who shows up in the office or in a room and people gravitate towards you. They remember you. You leave an impression, a good impression on them. You make an impact. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to go from being an introvert to an extrovert. It's simply about being remembered, having that presence and showing up in a way that people, even if you don't say anything, but you're in that meeting, you're in that room, and you've got that certainty about you, people will remember that in a good way. I would, however, recommend that you do speak up, that you do share ideas, opinions, and views where you can, so that you are also heard. And so to recap today's session is all about the return to the office and how you can have greater confidence in yourself as you show up in an environment that you perhaps haven't been used to for a while. And last week, I talked about the 5 things you can do to stand out in the workplace, to be remembered for the right reasons. And today is about returning to the office and having that confidence. So you may feel that nervousness, that anxiety, that lack of confidence. So what I invite you to do is the 5 things I've shared here today. And just as a quick recap, first of all, you want to build up your self-awareness. You want to tune into your thoughts, your inner dialogue, and be kind to yourself of what you're saying to yourself. You want to manage your state by breathing. So the long, deep breathing that will enable your entire physiology to relax, which will make you feel more grounded. Number 3 is your presence. So how you can make an impact, how you can show up and form a good impression amongst others without even saying a word. So just as a quick recap on that one, that's posture, your stance, breathing, the speed at which you speak, and remembering to smile. And then finally, honing that confidence within through some practices of writing down your successes, your wins, daily habits of journaling, asking yourself what you're most proud of, and also reinforcing your successes through that process. So that is my invitation to you today. If you are someone who is returning to the office after maybe 18 months or even more in some cases, or you are someone who maybe joined an organization during lockdown, so you're now only recently returned to the office, and you're feeling a little bit out of sorts and you're feeling nervous, but anxious, don't know what it's all going to be because things have changed. It's been a while since you've interacted with people face to face. So there's a number of factors that could cause you to feel that way. So thinking about what's in your control, and that is you and the way that you show up. So these things I've shared with you today are things that you can take on board, you can integrate within yourself and in your daily practices that will allow you to feel a lot more grounded and show up as the best version of you. If you have any questions on what I've shared today, then do reach out, ask your questions in the comments. I will come back and check and answer them. And I hope you've enjoyed today, and I look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week. In the meantime, remember to download your playbook. The link is in the comments for you, where you'll have the access to the framework that I share when it comes to personal branding and the components, the facets of that are really critical to building a strong personal brand. It also contains a self-assessment for you to complete and some best practices that you can go away and work on straight away. So Until next time, remember to build your influence, to make an impact, and be remembered for the right reasons by showing up as the best version of you. Lisa, great to have you here. Thank you for sticking around, and I hope that has been helpful for you. And as I said, for those watching on replay, hashtag replay, and do share any comments or questions for me, and I will come back and respond. Take care, and until next time, I will see you soon. Have a good rest of the week.